us welcome the UN Chamber Music Society performing the Hymn to the United Nations, composed by Pablo Casals, and Baba Yetu, composed by two-time Grammy Award winner Christopher Tim. Big round of applause.
Tonight, in just 1 hour, we will travel through time to the present day, reflecting and being inspired by the work of the United Nations, while looking ahead with resolve to the future. We are reminded that our organization is not only about milestones, but about people, about stories, and the enduring values of peace, dignity, and solidarity. So now, leading all of that, it is my privilege to welcome the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, to deliver the keynote address.
Honored guests, dear friends, I'm going to be brief this evening because I know the real stars of this evening's show. The celebration of the 80th anniversary of the United Nations is special because of you. In this hall and joining us online are people who have devoted their lives to service, to action, to hope. Women and men of the United Nations, diplomats, partners in civil society, artists, advocates, and change makers. You are the living proof that the world changes, not just through declarations, but through dedication, through courage, through the quiet, persistent work of people who refuse to give up. This evening, through film, music, and stories, we will witness that truth. We'll be reminded that it is often in the darkest hours, when despair looms and division deepens, that humanity comes together to make history. Dear friends, the theme of tonight's gathering is living legacy, and the key word is living. The United Nations is not just a set of buildings, it's not just words on paper, it's alive in you. It lives in every peacekeeper who stands between conflict and calm, in every humanitarian worker who reaches the unreachable, in every diplomat who chooses dialogue over his call, in all of you who understand that global problems demand global solutions. We are all privileged to be part of one of the most ambitious and profound undertakings in human history. The decision, despite our differences, to solve problems together, to work sincerely, creatively, and humbly toward a better future for all. It's not easy. It's often difficult, sometimes dangerous, but we choose to work because 8 decades of wars prevented, children educated, diseases cured, and life saved tell us one thing, that anything and everything is possible when we stand united. So tonight, let us celebrate not only what has been achieved, but what still lies ahead. Let us honor the legacy we have inherited and commit to the legacy we will leave behind. Let us keep the living legacy going and growing for one and all. Thank you.
the Secretary General for your leadership and your vision, and for telling us that anything is possible when we stand united. Our next speaker is the newly elected President of the 80th session of the General Assembly. Please welcome to the stage Her Excellency, Ms. Annalena Baerbock.
Many of you have seen the article in New York Times a few days ago about the postcard sent from the UN in 1953.
Alan Ball from Idaho sent a postcard to his family. It was lost to time, but resurfaced 72 years later. I found it interesting that even back then, this young man visited the UN on his stopover in New York. The UN was still new then, yet, even then, it mattered to people. We often forget in the trenches of bureaucracy, politics and diplomacy how much this institution matters to ordinary. To people like Mr. Ball and the 1 million visitors who come through the doors each year. And to those in every country of the world whose lives are impacted by the work you do. Ask the displaced how the work of UNHCR or IOM has mattered to them. Ask the person living with HIV/AIDS how the work of UNAIDS has mattered. Or ask the farmer in the Sahel how seeds provided by FAO has mattered. Every single day, you, the living legacy of this organization, affect the lives of people around the world. You defend the most vulnerable. You stand for human rights even in the darkest days. You champion the split of the unseen, the unheard, and the forgotten. Mr. Secretary General, Madam Deputy Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. On Monday, we will commemorate the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. This is a moment to celebrate the people who made this institution. But it's also a moment of profound reflection on what this institution represents. What it represented to the people of 1945, who sought refuge from the scourge of war. What it represents to the people today, who call out for the UN to live up to its promise. It comes at a critical moment of change, an evolution within the UN itself. As I will say in my remarks on Monday, change is necessary. But it must be built on the principles and spirit of the UN Charter. Principles that are upheld every day by the women and men of the UN, by you, who have dedicated their lives to humanitarian relief, to peacekeeping, to the protection of human rights and sustainable development, who have far too often given those lives in service in Iraq, Gaza. 168 women and men lost their lives in 2024 alone, standing up for the principles of our charter. These are the people, the heroes, who embody multilateralism in action. Dear colleagues, it's an honor to join you in celebrating this living legacy of the United Nations. You carry out the quiet, often thankless work, away from the limelight, yet indispensable to this organization, to making it stronger, to make it better together. You are the reason we can take pride in the United Nations today. The reason why a young visitor walking through these halls may look back 80 years from now with pride at having once stood here. I thank you.
From the United Nations General Assembly. I am Rushali Gaikwad, a board member of the Light Millennium Global Organization. We are here to celebrate a living legacy, 80th decade of the United Nations. In this event, it was a great opportunity for us to collaborate with the world leaders to discuss how to combat the global issues. It was a great experience to meet the youth, especially to share their new ideas, how they are looking at the world, how they are trying to change the world. We have discussed so many topics and exchanged the ideas towards like digital divide, towards the peace, and it is so encouraging to see the youth talking about the global issues. We are so proud as a LN Global representatives. We are here to share our insights and our experiences and share how our organization is supporting this global issue cause. We have done multiple events which are towards how to combat, which is towards supporting the sustainable development, like from peace to AI. It's like we always encourage youth, and it was a great experience to see the world leaders towards from across the globe. It was a great experience to attend this event. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
This is the story of 80 years, not of institutions, but of intention.
Never many doubted that agreement could ever be reached by these 50 countries, differing so much in race and religion, in language and culture. But these differences were all forgotten in one unshakable unity of determination to find a way to end war.
From devastation, a charter was born. From silence, a declaration that every human has rights. And from warplanes, the skies opened for passengers at peace.
This organization does matter, as you said, to ordinary people. We serve people, and we are people. As we look back on these 80 remarkable years of our organization, we are also reminded of the millions of women, children, and men who make up the living legacy of the United Nations. So now I am pleased to present the premiere of A Living Legacy, a short film by award-winning visionaries Sylvia Zakhary. And side note, her dad served at the UN for 40 years. And Sing JP, they produced this film to bring to life the story of the United Nations, the story of its people, the story of its milestones, and its impact on the world over the past 8 decades. This film, A Living Legacy, I would think we would all agree beautifully captures not just the spirit of the United Nations, but our remarkable history over the past 8 decades. Also, it inspires us, I think, on this journey, and it's going to be a tough one, but we have the blueprints. It reminds us of our collective responsibility and that we all share in building what comes next, building our future together. As we gather here in New York tonight, let's remember that the true backbone of the United Nations is the thousands of dedicated staff and young people across the globe who are working tirelessly to build the future we all aspire to. So we felt that it was essential to bring their voices into the room, and we asked them what the UN turning 80 means to them, and here's what they shared.
The birthday of the UN is about the people we serve. To really listen to people from all walks of life to understand how we can seize opportunities together.
Because global cooperation only becomes real when it delivers meaningful change at the local level.
UN's 80th birthday is a moment to celebrate and reflect on what humanity can achieve while we choose cooperation over division.
Tonight, we are fortunate to be joined by one of Africa's leading voices, a global talent in her own right, an award-winning singer and songwriter. Her artistry embodies resilience, women's empowerment, and hope. She has brought African music to the world stage, inspiring millions with both her voice and her message. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming Ms. Tiwa Savage. Like to now turn to voices of our leadership from within our organization, women who are at the forefront of leadership at the United Nations. And first to join us is Ms. Sima Bahous, Undersecretary General and the Executive Director of UN Women.
Excellencies, colleagues, friends, all protocols observed. The United Nations' 80 years have been remarkable. They have changed the world for the better. There are fewer examples of the fruits of multilateralism than its achievements for gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls.
More women shaping economies, societies, and driving progress. This is what multilateralism looks like. Our work is far from done, however, and in some ways it is even harder today. Female extreme poverty has stagnated at 10% since 2020. 708 million women are excluded from the labor force by unpaid care responsibilities. And conflict is increasingly deadly for women and girls, with another 700 million currently living in the of violent conflict, the highest number since 1990. Excellencies, investing in women and girls is investing in a sustainable, prosperous, and peaceful future, like the 80 years of the United Nations has been doing and will continue to do. Closing the gender-digital divide, strategic investments in care, education, green jobs, labor markets, and social protection could deliver trillions of dollars by 2050, lifting over 130 million women and girls out of poverty. And together, we have laid important ground. The Beijing Cluster Action Agenda. Actually, we are celebrating 30 years after Beijing this September 22nd, this Monday. And this agenda has shaped the world for women and girls. The Beijing Plus Action Agenda, shaped through global consultations and grounded in evidence, outlines 6 levers of acceleration. And I am really proud to announce that 106 governments have made 191 commitments to advance the rights of women and girls across the Action Agenda priority areas going forward. So, Excellencies, these United Nations exist, have existed these last 80 years, because our predecessors understood that the progress and prosperity of our peoples and planet depend on our ability to act together. That is profoundly true for gender equality. The world looks to us. Women and girls look to us. Let this indispensable, noble institution grow even stronger. Let our successors, 80 years from now, look back on what we do now with admiration, just as we admire the achievements of our founders. And let us all rise to our modern challenges upon the foundations of the timeless United Nations Charter for all women and girls, all those people.
Your organization and all the colleagues who work for UN Women do to transform and advance the status of women and girls. We will all be celebrating with you on Monday. And now we are joined by Ms. Catherine Pollard, Under-Secretary General for Management, Strategy, Policy, and Compliance. Catherine.
Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, both current and retired, I'm delighted to be a part of this very special celebration. It is wonderful to see so many familiar faces here tonight. I would like to speak to and celebrate the staff of the United Nations and to reflect a little on my own journey in this organization. I've been around these halls for a long time. Indeed, I have the institutional memory that can only really be found in fossils. I first joined the UN system in UNDP in 1989. At that time, I was a young woman from the Caribbean working in the private sector, building a career that I am sure would have been a successful one had I stayed in my own countries of Guyana and Jamaica. But I dreamed of more. I was a little fish, but I wanted to swim the oceans. And so I came to the United Nations. I am the person I am today entirely due to my career in the United Nations. From UNDP to peacekeeping to UN volunteers and back to the mothership of the Secretariat in New York, I have no regrets for the life I chose. My friends, to say that the United Nations is facing complex challenges at the moment of its 80th anniversary is a serious understatement. The volatility and depth of these challenges, financial as well as political, seem to increase exponentially by the day. Meanwhile, the needs of member states and the people we serve are increasing, making the mission of the organization more urgent and relevant than ever. Yet in many ways, service in the United Nations has ever been thus. Dag Hammarskjöld said it best when he said that the United Nations was not created to take mankind to heaven, but to save humanity from hell. Each of us who commit to the Charter, no matter our role or capacity, has been appointed to deliver on challenging mandates. In moments of uncertainty, we must be open and prepared for the unexpected to be the norm. And it may be a different and harsher reality than we have hoped for. But our raison d'etre remains: to come together over the most intractable problems to try and save humanity. In a moment of tremendous challenges to the international order, there remains no other value proposition like the United Nations. It is still the best that we can hope for, and it is our staff who strive to deliver on that promise. Dag Hammarskjöld also said that we must never, for the sake of peace and quiet, deny our own experience or convictions. The United Nations is a political construct, but one with central core values. We can uphold the values of the Charter, our statement of ideals, and through our service, demonstrate dignity and respect for all. This is what we are all called to do. As staff, we need to be able to respond to be open to a changing world and not to be afraid of it. There are always opportunities. And so, dear colleagues, I thank you. I am proud of you for all that you have contributed and all that you continue to do. As we mark this anniversary, let us continue to fight the good fight and ensure that the United Nations can build upon its proud history, evolve to meet the present moment, and thrive for the next 80 years and beyond. Thank you.
For your very touching, very personal story and sharing with us how that led to your convictions about the values of this organization and its enduring spirit. Last but not least, I would like to ask to join me here and warmly welcome our UN Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Amina Mohammed, for closing remarks.
Hello, New York. Global citizen, but tonight is such a special night, and we have thousands of our colleagues online. So can we give a big shout out to the UN? Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Seema. Amazing women leaders that we have in the UN today. And I stand here just in awe of them every time that they speak to the issues that they hold dear. And thank you, Catherine, for taking us through the journey of a lifer here at the UN. Really emotional. Excellencies, distinguished guests, and our friends. When Dag Hammarskjöld was asked about his vision for the United Nations, he turned to his mountaineering experience. He believed there was a common thread between climbing a mountain and building peace. And I quote, "Perseverance and patience, a firm grip on realities, careful but imaginative planning and clear awareness of the dangers, but also of the fact that fate is what we make it, and that the safest climbers are those who never question their ability to overcome all difficulties." End quote. This was true in 1953. But it is true in 2025. Tonight, as we close this celebration, we stand together at base camp, our moment to look back down the mountain, to see how far we've come, and to gather strength for the steep ascent still ahead. And I want to thank Lily Singh for taking us back in history 8 decades. That was quite an achievement in the couple of weeks that we gave you. From the rubble of the war, this organization helped to forge peace and rebuild lives. It gave voice to dignity through Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It brought food and aid where the crops failed. It carried vaccines to the last clinic on the last road. It stationed blue helmets on the ground so children could walk to school safely. These 8 decades of service have lifted humanity. The UN is by no means perfect, yet we continue. Because this global town hall is the only place in the world where 193 countries can come to meet through dialogue to find a way forward. With every step that we take, the UN Charter remains the compass. The world may not look like it did 80 years ago, but the values and the principles of the Charter are immutable. What gives those principles life are the people. The UN staff, our member states, civil society and partners who carry on this mission forward together. Let us be clear, anniversaries are not just for looking back, but they're also a moment to take stock of what comes next. We are not at the summit. This is only a milestone, and the steepest part lies ahead, the unfinished agenda of the Sustainable Development Goals and the many other promises that we have made for humanity. We know the future we want: true equality for women, safety on a sustainable planet, freedom from hunger and poverty and fear. But we also know the reality that we face. Wars that drag on, trust that is broken, inequalities that still hold too many back. We see this in Gaza. We see this in Ukraine. We see this in Sudan and Myanmar, Haiti, and so many more places. A child born today, including my own grandchildren, will inherit a global village and will certainly face challenges even greater than ours. But they will also face great opportunities. And that is why the Sustainable Development Goals, the Pact for the Future, must deliver on the promise and deliver with courage. Friends, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, 80 years ago, out of the ashes, the world chose to move forward together, better together. In this 80th year of the United Nations, it is time to make that choice again and to move forward better together, as one human family, as one institution serving humanity. As Mariam Bukar Hassan, the Nigerian poet and our UN Global Advocate for Peace reminds us, peace is not a line that we cross. It is a choice we make over and over and over again. End quote. The mountain is steep, but the summit, a world of peace, dignity and justice for all, will be reached if we make every step count and leave no country or person behind. I'd like to ask you to join me in shining a light for those that are still in the dark, and this is how it's done. I think those of you that are younger probably know. But anyway, thank you.
Friends of our colleagues, friends of the UN who came to join us here this evening. I hope that you feel inspired. I hope that you feel here that we have a United Nations that has an amazing, rich history that we can all be proud of, but that we also have a United Nations that is renewed, and together we can be part of its living legacy. Thank you very much.
We are at the UN General Assembly and we just participated to the 80th anniversary, which is another landmark and turning point of the United Nations, as the distinguished speakers underlined that now the world has to determine that peace is the only way to sustain life and humanity on this earth. I am Birjan Ünver and I am founder and president of the Light Millennium Organization, and we have a project that is created in support of the summit, Pact to the Future, and developed based on the Summit of the Future visions and concept to contribute. It's not a one-time project, it's a 5-year campaign which is called Compulsory Peace and ICT Education from kindergarten to high school and beyond. What we meant that peace, as also His Excellency Guterres mentioned, that we need to invest into peace, and all the speakers underline that then when we grow up, then life becomes different challenge. So it must be invested from the kindergarten by every country under the House of the UN General Assembly. It is a vision to be introduced to the UN General Assembly in the long run. Hopefully it will be incorporated with the next phase of the Sustainable Development Goals to be achieved by UN 100. So we have a long vision to support, because nothing is going to happen overnight. We need to be patient, work and invest towards the peace. And thank you, and we are proud to be part of the UN
NGO community, as long as we are able to contribute as a volunteer-based organization, but we have a big ideas, visions to contribute in a positive and constructive way as much as we can. Thank you for the opportunity.